Okay, there we go. Got some good background music. I think this is a good volume. Let me check. That's pretty loud. That one's pretty loud. Let me check real quick against my voice. I think that's gonna be too loud. Check 1, check 2. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can go with that. Okay. So, 1 sec. Let me turn off. Oh, Tamuji Kamuji. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. It's very nice. Thank you for supporting me. Yeah, if you watched the first tier list video, I did only put it out a couple of weeks ago. You're probably like, why is he putting out another tier list video? Monster Rancher DX, Monster Rancher 2 DX, and Monster Rancher 2 are very, very different games. The meta is completely different in this game. Good evening to you too, Rosal. Comrade Bob with the gift sub as well. Thank you so much, dude. And Donut Pimp, just subscribe with Prime. Thank you, guys. You're always helping me out. I appreciate it so much. DX is very different. This is not me talking about the game with no prior knowledge. This is the exact same game that came out in Japan as Monster Farm 2 for the Switch and for mobile devices a year ago. So I have that game. I've competed in that game. I've competed both against Japan and in the Western community here. Got a little bit of an understanding of it. But my knowledge is not nearly as like concrete on this as it is on the regular Monster Rancher 2. There's going to be a lot of discrepancies here, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're probably going to look at in a year, especially if they do balance patches and stuff, because they've said they've debated talking about it. Said they're not going to give us any patch notes, so that shit kind of sucks, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So things may change in the future. Rosal, thank you for the gift sub. It's very nice. Oh, we hit the hype train. That's pretty cool. Tonight we're drinking Sandbagger. This is a gin seltzer. Hopefully it doesn't suck.
Will you do a rundown on the enemy monsters in MR2 now that we can get them? I'm raising a sand golem right now and would like to see how they compare to each other.
I've got the script written for that video already. I don't know when it's coming out, but we will be talking about it. Thank you for the bits. That's very, very kind of you. But yeah, hope Sandbagger doesn't suck. Hope your favorite monster doesn't suck. Let's talk about it. First off, you started playing, your video helped me a lot with the basics. Thank you. I do have a video coming out for like brand new beginners in the next week and a half-ish. So it's going to be late for a couple of people, but I do think it'll be good to have that out there. We're going to be looking at two things today. We're going to be looking at this tier list. I've already decided the tiers. We're going to have stuff that's always banned, monsters that have certain sub-breeds bannable, but you know, the breed as a whole is not bannable. And then we got top tier, highest tier, mid tier, low tier. Top tier is monsters that are always a threat. They might have 1 or 2 different builds. Maybe they only have one build and it's really, really optimized. Either way, if this monster is in a tournament, they're probably one of the #1 contenders. High tier, monsters that can compete almost at the same level. Maybe they got some good matchups against top tier and certain subbreeds bannable. But they have a couple of major flaws. Mid tier are monsters that kind of require risky rolls, or maybe they're inconsistent, things like that. Monsters that you can't just throw into a tournament and be like, this is probably gonna win. Like, you're gonna have to like maybe have a little bit of RNG on your side. And then low tier is, you gotta hope. You're praying at this point. If anybody's running this shit and you're running low tier, you gotta hope that you get some good rolls, or you gotta hope that you optimized your build and your opponent did not. That's basically how these monsters are going to win consistently. They're very inconsistent. These monsters have really big flaws. We'll talk about that. So it'd be nice to contextualize the things, like based on what parameters are those tiers. You know, I didn't read that comment first, but there you go. I think I just answered that. And this shit rocks. You got Sandbagger. Take a look at that. Low tier for the best one, meme builds. So I'm not talking about meme builds with this. Like, yes, meme builds would probably be in low tier. But I'm talking about probably the monster's most optimal build, or what we as a community will like agree is the best build for that monster. If a monster has a really good intelligence build and really good power build, we'll talk about which one is better. Kai Crowley, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Is this tier list any important for casual play? Not at all. If you're not interested in competitive play, this will just be a fun little exercise, but it does not have any bearing on how you play a single player game. doesn't have any bearing on any of that fun stuff. And there's going to be some pretty big discrepancies between monsters that are extremely good in casual play and monsters that are really bad in casual play versus monsters that are really good in competitive, monsters that are really bad in competitive. Metalner is the biggest example. Metalner is really kind of awkward to play casually. If you've never played the game before, or you're new, maybe it's your first time ever seeing a Metalner. His stat games suck. They're very awkward. Big O42, thank you for the follow. But Metalner is... We're just going to get out of the way. Metalner is up here. Metalner is always banned. Metalner is far too powerful. We're going to take a look at Metalner's stuff. We've already did this on the last tier list, so I'm not going to be spending... I hope I'm not spending 4 hours talking about all this stuff today. Whatever you like is better than whatever you don't like. That's 100% correct. And that's from the man himself who made hard mode, so that's how you know it's true. We'll at least be going over attacks good for single player as well as competitive. Yeah, I guess I can talk about that stuff, but like... That is going to eat away a lot of time. I'll talk about why stuff is good and competitive. Steel Slab's not following, thank you. Okay, so Metalner, his big things here are you get straight and you get back charge. Elfric Star Song, thank you for the sub. Very kind of you. Appreciate you supporting me. Back charge, these numbers are fucking ludicrous for 29 guts on a monster that is Metalner's guts rate. Hey, Travi TV, thank you for the sub as well. You guys are far too kind. Straight does 10 withering for some reason. This is dumb. It only costs 18. The biggest difference is... Kai Crowley subscribed too. Thank you. Yeah, we hit level 2. I think the biggest difference... So I gotta talk about this. Monsters don't need to wait till they have 45 guts to attack anymore, right? Mizarasatsterism. That's hard for me to say, but thank you. Thank you for the follow. So monsters that have slower guts are going to be, on average, a little bit better because they can't get locked out by withering in general. Withering is, on the whole, nerfed in this game versus in Monster Rancher 2, in the original. So this is a little bit different. But the difference here is Metalner still withers for a lot, and Metalner does not give a shit if he's got 50 guts or not. Metalner gets such small boosts from guts correction by having over 50 guts that if he can just keep you and himself at like the 20 to 30 guts range for the whole game, you cannot beat him. He has no downsides there. So Metalner is even stronger in this format. All this other shit he gets. UFO attack maybe for tanks, but straight and back charge are going to take out tanks as well. He really only needs 2 attacks, and then maybe you get dash straight for a little bit extra damage. But it's honestly really not necessary. His basics kind of suck, but, you know, they're not enough to hold him back. Metalner's busted. Let's go. We got Ape next. Ape is a monster that has a bunch of mid-level attacks. He does benefit from not having to wait for 45 guts. He does actually get nerfed indirectly a little bit by like spamming his attacks. Slap is okay. Like, this is a really good basic tech, but it doesn't actually do a lot of damage. If he's going to be spamming Slap, and he's giving his opponent a guts lead, because it does take quite a while to actually activate and like go through the animation, he can fall behind a little bit. I don't think Ape changes too much in DX. I think he's still a pretty solid mid-tier. I think if anything, he's a little bit better than he used to be. I think he's solid. Stuff in mid-tier is solid. Stuff in low-tier is like, you're getting dicey, but this shit can still win. You know, RNG can be on your side. You can get some good rolls. You've been seeing monsters attacking as early as 25 guts. They literally don't have a cap. Your monster can use its 10 guts basic when it has 10 guts. It's unlikely. Your monster has a higher chance to attack the more guts it has saved up. It was always like that. It's just that now, instead of having a 0% chance to attack before 45 guts, now it can attack whenever. So Ape's fine. Arrowhead. Arrowhead is one of our biggest gainers here. Arrowhead, also, just to talk about this, we're talking about a 35-ish 100 stat cap. We're talking about a stat cap that's kind of in the middle. It's not max stats. Max stats is completely different, and it's really boring. We never run max stats. And we're not talking about something like Tangent's tournament that is just like 1,400 guts, or 1,400 points, sorry. And it's a really, really prohibitive. Those two actually do change up how the meta works pretty significantly. But his tournament also has a lot of breeds banned in it, just because like they're too special, and the point of it was to be a little bit more basic. And so we're not going to be talking about those two formats. We're going to be talking about something in the middle. Japanese 2997, our 3500 to 3800 type meta. Arrowhead is fucking sick in this. Arrowhead's got the best basics, or some of the best basics. Punch is great. Long punch is really good. Claw assault is really good. Hidden sting is okay. It is a little bit expensive, but against monsters who are only investing in speed, this can give you such a big lead if you hit it frame 1 that they're going to have trouble taking the game back. Roll assault is your tank killer. It costs 50. Sorry, it does 50. It only costs 39. It's actually only -9. It's pretty accurate. You can also use this to frame 1 fast monsters, but I mean, it is a little bit inaccurate. His bad guts do help him out. This -9 is usually only about like a -4 or -5 for the most part, so he's gonna have about 45% chance to hit as long as you got max skill, which that's pretty solid to like instantly win the match. Somersault and somersaults are also very, very good. Acrobatics in this format has a little bit more use than it did in the 45 guts meta, because wasting 45 guts doesn't necessarily put him in like a huge disadvantageous state all the time on hit or miss. You can use this to open a game, or maybe it's the second tech you use, and then maybe you have 10 guts left over and you finish off the game with punch. Matt Moore with the sub.
Finally remembered to subscribe. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Matt Moore. You're a good friend. So I'm putting Arrowhead. Arrowhead is he's not top tier. We'll see what the top tiers line up like, but he's absolutely high tier at the lowest. He's very, very good in this. This can be uploaded to YouTube? Yeah. The last VOD I did, I cut it all up and everyone was like, oh, I want to see what it looks like. Just like stream of thought, stream of consciousness. So this one's going to be uploaded as one part. It'll be a little bit longer, but you know, you guys can look through that. And I'm going to have it timestamped anyway. So if you feel like I'm rambling a little bit like I am right now, you can just skip to the next monster. Not a big deal. Arrowhead is a top tier because it's one of the coolest monsters ever. He is a cool lobster. It's true. Everyone wave hello to the YouTube scrubs. Oh man, you guys are mean. Bajarl. We got Bajarl up next. Bajarl doesn't really change much. Bajarl is kind of a non-entity in the original game. He's very, very middle of the road. Everything he does is okay, but there's monsters that do the same thing better. The fact he only has Hook up close is really detrimental because this -16 hurts him a lot. Hook's pretty good otherwise. It only costs 25, but if you have Hook, it might cause some issues. But not getting Hook means that you do have a little bit more of a chance to build up your guts, for better and for worse. In this meta, being able to spam shit up close sometimes is a good call. You can run down the clock a lot better in this game than you could in Monster Rancher 2. Mystic Punch is okay. It's a little bit inaccurate, though. Magic Punch is the same thing. You're really going to go for Mystic Combo and 1-2 Uppercut. Those are the big ones. You might even get... Well, I mean, I think you have to get straight, right? Or Uppercut? Yeah, you have to get Uppercut. Uppercut's fine, but like his basics aren't very good. They're good for ending the game, but they're not good otherwise. Bajarl is like, he's here. He's okay. He's good. Baku. Baku up next. Baku's best build has not changed from vanilla. Gust Breath is great. Diving Press is great. Charge is kind of a necessary pickup because you start with it. And then you can kind of get whatever you want here. I like Tongue Slap. It is a little bit risky, but it can win the game for you very quickly. You could just go with Dust Cloud. You could get Tongue Slap. Maybe you get 2 bites. I would suggest not getting 3 bites. But Diving Press is still one of the best self-damage techs in the game. It costs almost nothing, and you can use your life as a resource to win in this game. Gust Breath is fantastic. Diving Press the monster? Pretty much. He's one of the only monsters where their Diving Press tech is like a meta pickup on it. 16 techs evenly divided by power and intelligence, a true all-rounder. Yeah, except like this one doesn't count. And this one kind of doesn't count. The Withering is almost completely inconsequential in the new game. Mating Song is okay, but again, the Withering doesn't do anything for him. Sneeze is terrible. Roar, 2 roars, million roars are all fine, I suppose. Million roars are a little bit risky. Hypnotism is very expensive for what it does. I don't know why it costs 21. This is like an 18 cost tech. Nap is OP, and Nap is something. Baku, I want to say Baku is maybe better than Bajarl. He's over here. Beaclon's up next. Beaclon's best build has not changed either. We got Rolling Bomb. I see a lot of people in Tangent's tournament only having Top Assault. Top Assault doesn't do any damage, man. 17 guts cost to do a tiny bit of chip damage at the beginning of the game is really, really bad. You want Rolling Bomb. This shit hits like a truck for what it costs. Very accurate. A little bit of withering to stop your opponent from getting too much of an advantage. And then his basic techs are really good. Horn attack is great. Maximal punch is great. And then your real only option, or sorry, your real only decision to make is for like optimal. I'm talking about. There's obviously you can do whatever you want. What does sharpness do? Yeah, it's your critical hit chance. So this has a 10% critical hit chance. Horn combo kind of sucks. I see a lot of people picking up horn combo. Maybe it's just because they don't know any better, but it's this move will lose you games. It doesn't do nearly as much damage as it looks like. It costs a lot, and it's not great. Horn smash. This is basically the same tech as acrobatics. It used to be like good occasionally, but would often lose you games. But now a move that costs 50 guts isn't really a big deal anymore because there's a good chance he's not actually going to use this tech at all. This is really good to like open a game with, maybe do some withering, stop your opponent from being able to counterattack with a huge swing, and then you slowly work your way towards a KO. I think Horn Smash was buffed pretty significantly by the removal of the 45 guts limit, just because not so much the move itself has been buffed, but its use case has been buffed. There's more situations where it's good now. You can also get punch combo and Beaclon combo. They are a little bit risky, but you know, they'll win you the game if they land, so it's worth it sometimes. Don't like techs that do less than C in damage. You don't like some of the best techs in the game. That's unfortunate. The Beaclon Durahan you saw a while ago in the tournament made you want to make one. Yeah, Centurion's a cool monster. I think Beaclon, I want to say Beaclon's probably better than Ape in this format. I think he's probably here. We're going to be flipping this around. Don't worry too much about it. I'm going to be taking a look and I'm going to be like, oh, that monster's definitely not better than that monster. Okay. Who's up next? Centaur? Centaur is up next. Centaur is a monster whose best techs are these like kind of expensive ones. Z-Smash isn't great, but like Cross Slash is really good. Meteor Drive is pretty solid. It's only -5 hit. He is like, the way you play Centaur has been changed pretty significantly. You like techs that end the game fast, like Twister Claw. You like moves that are +20, and okay, so I think we'll get into Twister Claw in a bit, but Twister Claw is not the be-all end-all like you think it is in competitive play. It's pretty good though. By default, we're considering speed over tank builds, or we mentioned if it's significant. Zanshiretsu, thank you for the follow. Yes, by default, we're talking speed over tank. And monsters that can run a competent tank build, we will talk about. We haven't got to that point yet. Tanks are a little bit more viable due to the removal of the 45 guts limit, but they're a little bit less viable due to the fact that it's a little bit more expensive to put points into defense now. The issue is that with your techs no longer capping at 950, now they cap at 988. That's like the new maximum for power, skill, speed, all that stuff. Somebody needs to look up if 999 actually does add an additional point to hit and dodge percent. I don't think it does. I think 988 is the max. I could be wrong. I'm not too stressed about it. I'm probably never going to raise a monster beyond 988 anyway. But having maximum speed in this seems a little bit easier, because if you have maximum speed, you don't need to invest as much into life. But getting more points put into defense is kind of an issue, because if you're making a tank, life is always better. Life is always better than defense. So defense kind of struggles in that sense. It becomes an issue. I do think speed builds in general are probably even a tiny bit stronger than they were, but defense builds are better than they were as well. I think they just got power crept a little bit. If only defense did something, but making it too strong is probably even worse. I don't know. Centaur Alter S should be A off the body javelin alone. Yes, sir. A1, how you doing, my man? But yeah, so I think Centaur is kind of weird in this. I don't think he's as good as he was in vanilla. Triple stabs is now his main damage source, and like while it already kind of was, he had other options with like cross slash. Z smash was expensive, but you know, it's not terrible. It costs 55 guts. It might actually be worth picking up Z smash just to not use anything in slot 1. Give you more chances to use cross slash and turn stab, and unfortunately rear leg kick. I don't know. I think Centaur was a high tier in the other one. We're gonna put him. I think I'm still gonna put him high tier, but he's gonna be a little bit lower than he was overall. Only defense did something. Oh, weird. I think he had a stroke reading that. That's okay. You don't get it. It's fine though. Next up. So yeah, we talked about a couple different topics there. Centaur has different utility than he used to. I think he's still good, but I'm not certain. I think that's the easiest way to put that. ColorPandora. ColorPandora fucks in this version of the game. Face attack being covered up by Giant Whip is really good. 2 swings and Kamikaze make this character. Kamikaze is incredibly strong in this format. You can spam it. Costs 28, but you know, it's not the end of the world. Very, very accurate. Does a decent amount of damage. A little bit of withering. It does so little self-damage when it misses. This move alone carries ColorPandora. Triple shots kind of sucks. Giant Wheel is really risky. Spiral Rush isn't great. Meteor Drive does a ton of self-damage if it misses, so this one's not really worth it. You can go for it, but Kamikaze is the main one. ColorPandora is absolutely a top-tier monster in this game. ColorPandora is so much more powerful in this version than it was in vanilla, and it was already pretty good in vanilla. It was already a really strong monster, and now the removal of the limit and the ability to just spam the shit out of Kamikaze ends matches so quickly. Missed the tournament yesterday, gonna catch up on the VOD later. Right on. ColorPandora CPUs are so bad. Well, yeah, when you give your monster like 150 offensive stats, they're not gonna do much. Here comes Dragon. Oh lord, he a coming. Let's talk about Dragon. Dragon is probably the single most buffed monster from vanilla to DX. What he can do in DX compared to what he can do vanilla is literally night and day. He is basically not the same monster. Tail attack and tail whip spam win him games. Wing attack is okay in this. Wing combo is really good for running out the clock, which is actually kind of a valid strategy now. And trample is still really good. Slamming down is probably the thing we got to talk about the most, though. Slamming down was risky because a game opener was not that great. Minus 36 guts is fine, but what ends up happening is that when both you and your opponent, as Dragon, are in a race to get to 45 guts first, it doesn't matter if you wither 36 guts. It doesn't matter if you wither 41, which is the most you can do with this. They will hit 45 long before you will, and they'll be able to attack long before you will, but that's not the case anymore. What this ended up doing was it would never kill outright, and it would give your opponent a chance to counterattack. And now they don't necessarily have that. You can spend 40 guts on this, walk up, use tail whip. You can make it happen. Dragon is very, very good in this. He's real good. I wonder how many dragons we'll see in the deluxe tournament. I haven't seen enough yet because this boy's up here. He might not be top tier. He might be here. Yeah, I'll put him there. I don't think he's ColorPandora good, but damn, Dragon is fucking nuts in this game. These monsters right here, these like top 4 so far are very, very strong. I think Centaur is going to end up being like at the very end of high tier. I don't think he's mid tier. I think he's significantly better than these monsters, but these 4 right here, right now are like tournament threats every time. Dragon's good. Dragon's good. We'll see though. Maybe the meta evolves. That's what it is right now though. She can enter multiple monsters. It's gonna be more than one tournament. Don't worry too much about it. Conversely, though, we gotta talk about my boy Ducken. Ducken has to pick up Explosion, which is the saddest fucking thing in the world. You know why you pick up Explosion? Even if you're not building a power build, because having Explosion active means your monster is not spamming Flutter Slap. If you have Explosion active in slot 1, it costs 50 guts. And say you have 30 guts, it's much better to just not do anything than it is to use 3 Flutter Slaps in a row. The removal of the 45 guts limit hurts a Ducken so badly. I don't even know if his intelligence build is better because of how much your monster is going to use Beak Thrust and how much they're going to use Flutter Slap. If you do go power, Explosion becomes an actual threat, but this minus 20 means you're going to hit almost never, and it does a ton of self-damage when it lands on yourself. It does 60 force to yourself. If you have no power and no defense, Explosion won't do a lot of damage to you. If you build a tank Ducken, Explosion will do even less damage to you. It's still a waste of 50 guts, and it's not good, but more often than not, Explosion covering up Flutter Slap is like not actually as stupid as it sounds. Its intelligence build is still the same. Frantic Beam. This move is very, very bad in max stat metas. It's pretty good when you only have to fight monsters with no defense. If you're fighting fast monsters, Frantic Beam's pretty okay. The +2 hit isn't actually great. You'll have less than 50% chance to hit it most of the time. But the I-Beam line is still fantastic. Maximal Beam, I-Beam, Beam Shower, all great. You probably want to pick up Duck and Dance and Surprise, even though they suck, just because the least uses of Beak Thrust, the better. We're gonna take that off. I don't want the vocal tracks while I'm talking about this. Missile, 2 missiles, big missile, falling beaker, all really terrible. Boomerang is kind of awful. Bombing is like, if you want to nuke, you go with bombing, but it does cover up the other 3 intelligence techs you get, and these ones are way better. I don't know. Ducken, I don't think is low tier. Ducken has a hard time, but I think Ducken is like low end of mid tier. Remember, in vanilla, he's up here. Ducken is like a top 5 monster. Not so much anymore. He's definitely hard nerfed. Missed what you said on Beaclon. Can you get a quick recap? He hasn't changed much. That's a quick recap. Except Horn Smash is probably buffed due to the removal of the 45 guts limit, and its use case is a lot less niche than it used to be. Love your tier list content. It's what I do, baby. Ducken is mid tier. Yeah, I'm going to say that. Probably jumping the gun, but which version of the game would you say is the best balanced? It's too hard to say. Neither is probably the answer. They both completely imbalanced. Durahan is up next. Durahan, still very good. The removal of the 45 guts limit helps him out a little bit. Durahan doesn't actually have a really, really slow guts rate. He's got a very middle-of-the-road guts rate. And his best build is still the same. You're probably just picking up the basics, and then maybe million stabs. You might pick up Slash Combo because the chance to kill instantly for 35 guts is pretty spooky. V-Slash isn't bad, but Ruby Knight, I don't know if there's a good Ruby Knight. And Kick Combo is almost the exact same tech. We've talked about this a couple of times. Kick Combos, these are really funny heavy techs. 25 force, 25 force, I don't know. Triple Slash, not so much worth it. Flash Slash, I think, is better than a lot of people give it credit for. I do think as far as sharp techs that kind of do a little bit of everything go, Flash Slash is one of the better ones. Obviously, that's not a high bar. You're comparing it to stuff like Pedal Swirl. But I think Durahan is still solid. I don't think it has a lot of issues. And 300 cap Durahan might be pretty good. Durahan's great. Durahan is absolutely up here. I don't think he's these two level. I do think he's like right behind them, and he's absolutely better than Centaur. I'm impressed and also quite sad that Monster Rancher has so much complexity and depth to it, but Pokemon being simple and quite boring has the spotlight forever. Pokemon's not a simple game. Brother, Pokemon is not a simple game. I understand loving Monster Rancher and being like, damn, why does Pokemon always get the spotlight? But it is not a simple game, my man. Triple Slash is the most weight that exists tech. It's out there. Compared to Monster Rancher, I don't know. It's hard to say. You have a lot more control in Pokemon, so I don't think it's simple. Who's next? Gaboo? Gaboo is pretty good. We were talking about Slap and how... Soul Bad Guy was talking about how he doesn't like Slap because it has low force. And you know what? There's a lot of truth to that. The 10 hit helps Slap be a good move to finish off matches, but it's not actually great otherwise. Having a very accurate tech is always useful, but these techs don't win games individually. They are part of a kit. Chop Combo, Samurai Kick are both very good techs. We saw, what's his name, Oakley Mad yesterday, put in a lot of work with both of them. They're good techs. Shockwave is really good. I don't actually like Chop that much. I don't know why it has -4 hit. It's so cheap, but I don't know why it has -4 hit. So I really like to pick up Shockwave. I also really like to pick up Rolling Chop because this move is really good. I don't see Rolling Chop used enough. For 19 guts, this is a pretty solid tech. It's not fantastic. It's definitely not better than Shockwave, but having both of these is a good way to cover up Chop. Electric Blow, sucks, but, you know, I love it. And then your options here, you got Long Punch, you got Jumping Chop. You can do one or the other. Long Punch if you are afraid of missing. Jumping Chop if you don't give a shit about missing. You're like, you know what? I'm here to style. Never pick up straight. Never pick up straight. Just always leave slot 3 open. And obviously his intelligence build is kind of whack. He can't even cover up Chop. Acid Spit is a withering based tech, which doesn't help a whole lot in this format. Cyclone is okay. It's not bad, but you know, it's not going to win you games individually. And Spit is just, it's very expensive for what it does. It withers a lot, but it's not worth it. Kiss, I mean. Dude. If you have an E-Force tech, it's got to do something phenomenal for you to use it. It's not worth. Almost every tech in the game that has E-Force is not worth using. Like, it doesn't matter. It needs to do something incredible to be worth it. To such a comfy game? I think so. Are any rules that could be implemented for the Deluxe to make mixed attackers viable? I've got ideas, you know. We're going to be coming up with some stuff. Started the Monster Rancher series with 3 back in the day, and we got a chance to play 1 and 2. The fact the scene is coming back 3 releases is great. I'm currently getting pulled into 2DX and loving it. I love Monster Rancher 3, man. It gets a lot of hate, but I think it's a great game. Gaboo, I think Gaboo is probably better than Beaclon. I don't think he's high tier. I don't know. He might be high tier. He might be high tier. I think Gaboo is better than he was. You know what? Fuck it. I'm making the audible. I don't think it's as good as Centaur, but it's up there. There you go. High tier Gaboo. Merry Christmas. Missed the analysis on Metalner. Not much to talk about. He's just busted. Every change in DX actually helps him as much as it helps anyone else, if not more. Or I leave like all the main games, so 3 being hated is weird to me. Yeah, I know. I don't get that either. I'm going to pop out and try to knock out. Hey, well, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it, man. Gaboo fans winning. Deb Gaboo legs. He's got gams, baby. Look at that shit. Here in the series was 4. 100 hours stuck into that one. Well, you and I disagree on that one, but that's okay. Gali. We've talked about Gali a lot. Gali is one of the absolute best competitive monsters in Monster Rancher 2. I think it's still pretty solid in DX. I don't know, though, whether or not its power build or intelligence build are better in this one. In vanilla, its power build is better. Giant Blow wins games. This shit is nuts. It's very expensive for a Gali at 41, but 33, this is pretty good. And to open with it in this format, I think is really, really strong. What is it? Spirit Blow? Yeah, this is one I was looking at. I think Spirit Blow is okay in this format. I wouldn't have normally used it in vanilla, but I think it's a little bit better now because using 38 guts doesn't hurt Gali as much as it used to. I do think his power build is still a little bit better. I see a lot of people getting Blaze Wall and not going further. I do think Napalm is the play. If you're going to go with this chain, I do think Napalm is really good. You can probably stop at Whirlwind or Typhoon. I don't think you need to go up to Hurricane. Hurricane does have a higher chance to crit, or hit, sorry, than Typhoon. But you can probably go slightly lower damage with Whirlwind. This only costs 25. It's not that risky. -9, like, you're not going to hit very often, but it's pretty good. And we've talked about this, but the best Gali you can get in the game currently is a cocooned red worm made into a Gali. It's good. Is good. Isn't this Monster Rancher from Steam the DX one? Yep. I think Gali is up here. I don't think it's Durahan, but it's high tier. Ghost. Ghost is up next. Disc chips are still disabled. Disc chips work. They just don't work well. They don't do the thing you expect them to do. Also, I talked about we're using the best monster. We're talking about the best build. If there's a monster that's like a specific monster that comes from a shrine, like a specific one with like a different guts rate or whatever, that's the one I'll be talking about. We haven't got to any of those yet. Ghost. Actually, you know what? I just lied. Ghost. There's a ghost with a 6 guts rate. There's a ghost that can almost run a competent withering build. Ghost absolutely fucks up tanks. Ghost has maybe the most one-sided matchup in the entire game outside of Metalner versus tank monsters. Ghost's Astonishment does a ton of withering. It's a pretty quick animation for what it is. 5 seconds is pretty long, but when you have a 6 guts rate, it's not a big deal. Alright, ColorPandora's high tier, Kamikaze. Almost unilaterally Kamikaze. Kujira! Welcome, Kujira. If you guys don't know Kujira, you should give him a follow. He runs tournaments for the Japanese scene. Very nice to see you in my chat, Kujira. Hope you're having a good day. Astonishment, Surprise, both pretty good. Energy, dude, this shit is nuts. This is what I'm talking about with if your force is E, it's not worth using. 29 hit. This is the most accurate tech in the game. If you're fighting another ghost, you both have max skill and speed. This has a 79% chance to hit. That shit is fucking bonkers. But it does no damage and it takes 6 seconds. It's not worth it. Hey, Nate, thank you for the gift sub. That's very kind. But yeah, this I like this tech. It does just enough withering to be irritating, but it's kind of goofy. Astonishment is honestly your play. If you're making a ghost, you're probably using the 6 gut rate ghost, and you're hoping your opponent doesn't get a chance to attack. It's not good though. Worth it to run out the clock and chip. That's your strategy. That's your strategy, but he fucking sucks. He's not a low tier. He's not bad. Like, he's bad, but he's better than he was. I'll say that. Food is now following. Thank you. Ghost now has a niche. It didn't have a niche before. Golem. Golem is essentially unchanged. He really benefits from the 45 guts removal, though. Brow hit's still fantastic. Brow smash has more utility because missing this doesn't mean you gotta wait 20 seconds to get up to 50 guts anymore. You can miss the brow smash and you're not done yet. You walk closer, you get brow hit, you get heavy slap. I'm seeing a lot of people pick up charge. Charge looks really good on paper, but the thing is, charge is not an ultra consequential tech. Missing charge is really, really bad, and landing it doesn't actually do a ton of damage. Like, it does an okay amount of damage, but it's not going to win you the game on its own. It's good for closing out stocks. It is his second most accurate tech after heavy slap. I think if you want an accurate tech, heavy slap is the play. So it takes a little bit longer to do the animation, but it costs less. It does a little bit less damage. It is slightly more accurate. I do think heavy slap is the play. And with all that said, Golem is still a fucking boss in this game. Golem is still an absolute top tier. In Monster Rancher 2, after Metalner, there's a little bit of contention whether or not Naga or Golem is the best in the game. In this, I don't think he's as good as Naga, but he's absolutely up there. Absolutely every. Yep. I'm here remotely on time, fine with F rank schedule requests. Yeah. Time for your favorite mon in the game, Hare. Let's talk about Hare. Hare in Monster Rancher 2 is probably a top 5 monster. At least top 10 monster. In vanilla, you're probably getting 1-2 punch, you're getting straight or hard straight, and you're probably getting bang, big bang. You might get high kick. A little bit risky, it's not fantastic. But that's basically the build. 1-2 punch, straight, hard straight, bang, and big bang. In this version, you can run that exact same build, and it's very, very strong. Kung Fu Fist, Kung Fu Blow kind of suck, and these other risky moves are really, really rough. Heavy Smash is fantastic if you're fighting tanks, but you're not going to be fighting tanks most of the time. Yo, Snake, how you doing? Charge is cool, though, but so you got to pick it up. That's fair. You know? You pick up the techs you like. I think in this version of the game, getting Spin Kick into Kung Fu Kick is kind of a good call. I don't really like Kung Fu Kick, but I like it much more than using gas. I think having a 1 in 3 shot of using gas versus having a 50% shot of using gas is going to win you more games that it'll lose, and missing 44 guts on Hare is not as detrimental as it used to be. Gotta run Intelligence Hare. Foul Gas does no damage. This shit does 5. You will not win with Intelligence Hare. He can't wither enough. His guts rate is way too slow. I do say, though, if you're going to build this, that if you pick up Kung Fu Fist, to absolutely get straight, hard, straight, bang, and big bang, just to try and cover up Kung Fu Fist, because it's a pretty crappy tech. Hare is absolutely a top tier monster in this game. I don't know if it's top 5 anymore. I do think it beats a lot of builds much more easily than it used to. I don't think it was always like a really solid monster. If you entered a Hare and you didn't do an incredibly shitty job, it was always going to do good. Now I think it like actually counters a couple of builds. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I think Hare does really well, especially against tank builds. Boy, Arrowhead out of top 5 now. That's okay. Things might change. I gotta like actually see where everything lines up. Dodge the kung fu moves on as well in your Hares. Yeah, it's gonna be a very exciting tournament with a lot of new people. Yes, Kujira. Yes, it will. He's talking about Macho's tournament. That one's gonna be a lot of fun. Macho's running a tournament. It's already closed to entry because he's a smart man. I'm up to like 62 entrants in the Deluxe Cup already, and I'm not drowning yet, but like, damn, it's gonna be hard to like actually vet all the entries. Maybe I'll close it at 100. Or go 128 or something crazy like that. Hare's great. Henger's up next. Henger for a really long time in vanilla was considered like one of the absolute best monsters in the game competitively. I propose the idea that that's not true at all. I think he's like a strong mid-tier monster, and then people kind of agreed with me over time. That's not to say I was right all along. It's just, you know, more data comes out, you realize stuff is a little bit more inconsistent, things like that. But I do think Henger is a really good monster in DX. I think we talk about Kick and Heavy Chop. Heavy Chop is basically just a better version of Kick. It only has 1 less force, but it's more accurate and costs less. It doesn't have any sharpness, but that barely matters. Heavy Chop's a good pickup. You can get Laser Cutter. It's very risky, but I mean, this shit will win you games. Fist Missile's great too. Hammerfall and Sledgefall, I wasn't a big fan of in vanilla. I think they have more utility now than they used to. Laser Sword and Laser Swords. Laser Sword specifically was really bad in vanilla, and I think it's still kind of bad now. But having this tech that, like, if you're going to run Laser Swords, you may as well just not run anything in the second slot, because he's never going to use Laser Swords. He's never going to have 55 guts. His guts rate is way too slow. Drill Shot. Drill Shot's a little bit expensive, but they do have pretty good accuracy. You could probably get the whole line if you wanted. I would either get Fist Missile or go ham for Drill Shots, one or the other. And then Heavy Chop's your other one. And then maybe Hammerfall and Sledgefall. I probably, if you're not going to get Laser Cutter, I wouldn't get anything in slot 2. Anyone tried Henger Gali? They brought back from Monster Hunter 1. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He looks very cool, and he sucks. He's one of the worst Hengers. I think Henger is like... I'm going to say Henger is better than Centaur. We'll do that. I think that looks pretty good right now. Should I stay out of the tourney to give you an easier time? What do you mean? Oh, no, dude, enter. Enter. I want to see what you want to build. I was thinking of a lot of really stupid builds. I was like, what? Can I make Tank Mocchi work? And I'm just looking at the numbers, and I'm like, I can't make Tank Mocchi work. I'm trying. Trying to do some fun stuff. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's not going to be round robin. We're not doing round robin. We're just going to do like a double elimination or single elimination even, depending on how many we get. So the more the merrier. Because it's a 3,500 stat cap, you'll be able to enter the monster into more than one tournament. Power tank plant or something garbage. I'd be excited to see that. I think plant's a little bit better than it used to be. Hopper is up next. Hopper has 2 different breeds. Al with the sub. Oh, that's Nate gifting the sub. That's so nice. I was going to say, Al doesn't sub to anybody. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. So the DX tournament's going to be on Switch or Steam. It's crossplay, bro. You can do it on either. I'm kind of a meme build that will win more than a single round, but you want to see your reaction. I mean, that's fair too. Swiss potential? Brother, we're not doing Swiss with like 60 monsters. That'll take forever. Yeah, it's all crossplay. You don't need to be on Switch. You don't need to be on Steam. Here's one of these horde creatures. Hopper Frogger got you your Hot Spring. Hopper is probably significantly better in this than he is in vanilla. And he's like bottom of mid-tier, like low mid-tier in vanilla. Hopper's whole gimmick of running out the clock is actually a viable strategy in DX. Jab and Hook have very long animation times for how much they cost. If Hopper gains a lead, it's very hard to come back versus him in Monster Rancher 2DX. Not so much in Vanilla. In Vanilla, you know, he's not terrible, but he struggles. In this, I think he's like actually a solid mid-tier threat. Phantom Claw is very good, but you have to run Mustachios, which is one of the worst hoppers. Oh my god, excuse me, the seltzer. Am I going to join a tournament myself? Absolutely, 100%. I always join my own tournaments. Unless it's an invitational or something. Don't understand English, but I can tell you Metalner is too strong for you. Yes. Yes, Kujira. I agree. I agree, Kujira. You are right. 2 Mario, 2 Kart. Too Fast, Too Furious. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. What was I talking about? Stop booing, Hopper. Why are you booing me? I'm right. Borkonen is now following. Thank you. I think Hopper is better. And Hopper has 2 different monsters with a 6 guts rate in this game. There is a Springer you can get with a 6 guts rate, and there is a Bloody Eye you can get with a 6 guts rate. 2 Mario Kart with the sub, the immediate sub. That's very, very nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't think Bloody Eye can get Grit. A Springer with Grit. Oops. Springer with Grit might still be better. The 7 guts rate might still be better. Oh, Big O with the Prime sub as well. Thank you, man. Koja, thank you. Hi. How are you doing? Still getting Hopper PTSD from Tangent's event earlier. My poor Pixie. Bro, I put 10 grand on your Pixie. That shit was free. And then she missed every attack. I think Hopper is better than he used to be. I think the 6 guts rate is going to carry him pretty far. I don't think it's enough to make him a total threat. But he's better. Hopper, I want to say, I think Hopper is probably better than Bajarl. Hopper might be better than Baku. Hopper might be better than 8. I'm going to put Hopper there. I don't think Hopper is fantastic, but he has a place in the meta now. And he can win games. Hopper is extremely mid. That's kind of how I agree. Fun thing is this game is that the strength of the monsters changes depending on the status limit. Yes. Yes, Kujira. You were right. The thing he's talking about is that like Dragon and Arrowhead are absurdly powerful in 2997. Not so much in ours. They're still very, very good. They're still high tier, but like they're not like top 5 monsters in ours. Put money on a Hopper and the Pixie on Tangent's fight, like betting on what should lose. Okay, Jell's up next. Jell's got 2 builds. You hope for Jellcopter crit and then finish them off with stab, or you go Jell Cube, 3 cubes, and Spike Top. Those are your real plays. Gatling Gun as well as Beam Cannon is another viable build, but if you're going solely intelligence, I don't think it's going to be enough to win you games consistently. His power attacks are just so much more consistent. 2 whips is great. Jell Cube is great. 3 cubes is great. Pierce is okay. Suffocation is kind of the same thing as Pierce. Redacted Thug is now following. Thank you. Jell Top, this is basically the same thing as Top Assault for Beaclon. It's not great, but it does go into something that's a lot better. Numbers are almost the exact same. Spike Top's really good. I think Power Jell is probably better than Intelligence Jell. I think Power Jell is probably right here. Maybe Jell might be better than Dragon and Arrowhead, but I'm going to put him behind right now just for the sake of it. Forgot to mention this Bajarl, but there's a Bajarl at 12 guts rate. Does this change where I place him? No, I was already talking about that. I don't think the big guts rate change helps him out that much. I don't think it's that great. Jill is up next. Jill has... There's one Jill with an 11 guts rate, which is incredibly quick for Jill. He doesn't get grit, but, you know, that could be enough to win you games. His intelligence build is pretty cool. Ice Spikes... This move is incredibly cheap because it does 0 withering. 20 and 9 for 17. We were talking about how Long Punch on Arrowhead is really good earlier. This move is literally just objectively stronger than that. It costs less, has 1 more hit. This move's great. Ice Wave is a pretty good power, like heavy tech. It's a little bit inaccurate, but not that big of a deal. Cold Breath is really, really expensive for what it does. But, I mean, it can end games. This 26 cost for 19 horse is not great. Snowstorm is pretty good, though. Snowstorm is a good round opener. And whereas in Vanilla, sometimes it kind of did the same thing as Slamming Down does, where it gave your opponent a chance to come back before you were able to do anything. Not so much the case here anymore. Ice Meteor kind of sucks. Do I think his intelligence build is better, though? I think his intelligence build is pretty good. I do think just going double slaps, 1-2 straight, punch combo, Jill combo is probably the play. Maybe even just punch combo. He's got really weird withering techs. Slap combo and clap attack are both withering. Clap attack really, really blows. Slap combo has such a long animation. In hard mode, it's one of the best techs you can get, but not so much here. I don't know if his power or intelligence build is better. They're both pretty equal. You just got to worry about using 1-2 straight all the time if you're using an intelligence build. I do think Jill is probably here. I don't think it's as good as Hopper, but it's better than it was. It's more consistent than it used to be. Which do I think will be more effective competitively? Weaker, more accurate, or stronger, more inaccurate moves? You need a mix of both. You can't go completely risk averse. Unless you're doing something like Hopper, maybe you can go something like completely risk averse. But even then, you might want to just get Hopper combo and just swing for the fences occasionally. Because the thing is, if you only have one or the other, you get counterpicked really hard. If you only have weaker, more accurate moves, you're never going to beat a tank. And if you only have stronger, inaccurate moves, you're never going to beat a monster with max speed. You'd say Int is better? I think that's probably fair. I just don't like not being able to cover up attacks. But I think, you know, it's up there. Next up, we got Joker. Joker, indirectly uber buffed from what he used to be. Death Punch, Death Smash, still great. Death Slash, risky, but like decent otherwise. His intelligence build almost completely unusable in this version of the game. You're probably raising a power Joker. If we are running a stat cap that's like all 300 stats or something like that, you can run a mixed attacker Joker. Death Cut or Death Energy become a little bit more useful, but we're going to be talking about Death Smash, Death Punch, Death Slash. Death Energy, I know it looks good. You got Thanatos kicking your ass every time. Carmine one hit kills you, but this move doesn't actually do a lot of damage if you've got a ton of life. It's actually not that consequential. Death Slash is your big nuke. You can probably just run Death Smash, Death Punch. That's probably a really good Joker build. It is in vanilla. And Joker's biggest boon in this is that Reel has become a usable battle special. It's no longer as risky as it used to be. Now you can win. All the Joker's techs are the most powerful. I'm not sure they've all beaten up by S rankers. I know. Yeah, Kujira, you're right again. Kujira knows what he's talking about. Reel is now really good now. Yes, sir. Death Finale any better? Ironically, yes, but still no. Technically, yes, but it still sucks. I think Joker is top 5. I don't agree. But I do think Joker is probably here. That's probably where Joker lives. Is Reel still bad? It's not bad anymore. It's not bad because you don't have to wait till you have 45 guts. So you proc Reel with an attack that costs 15. Yeah, attack again immediately after. I think he's really, really strong. Yeah, Joker is great. Kato is up next. This is what we were talking about. We're talking about Twister Claw. 20 force, 20 hit for 25. This move is an anomaly. It only takes 2.1 seconds. This is probably the best tech in the game. Twister Claw is absolutely the best tech in the game, and Kato's intelligence build kind of sucks. Smoke Breath is okay, but again, doesn't do a lot of damage, takes a really long time, and Kato has a really long guts, or he has a really low guts rate regeneration. Oil Spray does a decent amount of damage. It's very inaccurate, but this is like a game-winning move. Normally, if you have like minus 11 hit, you want the move to be able to win you a game, and Oil Spray will do that. Pretty decent damage for 27 cost, but 43 withering, that shit is nuts. That shit is nuts. Is Oil Fire still bugged? It's not. You can get Oil Fire, which is okay. For 17 guts, this is pretty good. Oil Flame, I probably wouldn't get if you're trying to make a competitive build. And if you're running in Kato, you're probably running Blue Kato, so maybe you get Bolt, but I don't think Bolt is very good. That's his intelligence build. His intelligence build is not as good as his power build. It's really crazy that Twister Claw alone cannot carry him. You can make an intelligence build, but his power build is really good. His basics are fantastic. Thrust Claw, Slash Claw are both great. Slash Claw as a claw combo is a pretty good heavy tech. I would just leave Thrust Claw as it is. Drill Claw is great. Phantom Claw is great. All these moves are really, really good. I'd probably forego Hopping Claw. This, maybe you get Rolling Claw, like something out of this line, because he does kind of lack damage output with this. Drill Claw for only 20 guts is kind of like the power version of Twister Claw. It's not as good, but this shit's an anomaly. 25 sharpness. So on a bad-natured Kato, you got 45% chance to crit with this. You got 45% chance to do, what is it, 37 force for 20 guts at a equal hit percent. That's really good, man. Is it Sake in the Japanese version? Yeah. Now we can talk about oil drinking. Yeah, let's talk about oil drinking. Oil drinking was the single most nerfed tech in DX. Oil drinking was already kind of crappy because recovery techs are kind of garbage in general. It's really hard to rely on the AI to use them properly. Oil drinking was probably the best one, though. It absolutely heals the most. Minus 15 seems really bad, but they all have like minus 15. Anywhere between like minus 10 and minus 20, so this part's right in the middle. Here, let's move on to this song. But what happens now is there's a chance to proc the Drunk Battle Special now. And what Drunk does is it lowers your arena movement speed to the minimum and it cuts your guts regeneration in half. It's just a straight nerf. This move does not deserve that. It would be really cool if it had some weird like Drunken Master effect where it also doubled your damage. It gave you a bunch of downsides but like made you stronger or something like that. Still need to see Drunk. I'm still editing the VOD for Big Lucker, but we get Drunk at some point in it. I'm an old man who feels great with alcohol and smoke in the Japanese version. Yeah, exactly. Kato, I think, because I don't know how obvious it is to a lot of you, but Kato has one of the worst guts rates in the game. He can benefit from the removal of 45 guts by more than a lot of other monsters can. He was already pretty solid. I don't want to say he's high tier. I do think he's better than the rest of these. I don't think he's at this level, but like he's absolutely like the top of mid tier right now. Mew, one of the strongest monsters in vanilla Monster Rancher 2. Really, really good. I think he's better than Gaboo. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it. What's up, fellas? What's up, Macho? How are you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Mew is already one of the best monsters in the game and had a really bad guts rate. Only buffed from this change. Twiddling is now less risky than it used to be. Twiddling 2 is less risky than it used to be. Rushing Punch is still really good. 100 Blow is way less risky than it used to be. Again, 50 guts for this is really, really like a lot. I probably wouldn't get it, but it is better. Head Assault and Headbutt are game winners on their own. Scratch, very accurate, a little bit expensive, but you're paying for this accuracy. Stab, not really good. His basics are kind of awful. Twiddling Z, this move is like phenomenally bad. I don't know why. I don't know why this move sucks so much. Like these numbers seem like a mistake. 55 for million blows is not worth it. It's got good hit. It's got good force. It's got good withering, but 55 is like your monster's not going to use this tech. And of course, his intelligence techs, he's only got them in one slot. You're not going to win with this. Drinks are not restorative. They're drunks. That's exactly right. But Mew was already really good, just buffed. I'm putting Mew probably... I don't know if it's as good as Dragon and Arrowhead. I'm going to put it above there. Actually, you know what? I don't know if it's as good as Jell. We'll do that. Never used Mew. Mew's the monster I've raised the most for competitive play. I think it's a fantastic monster. Like, absolutely one of the best monsters in the game. Everything, like, up to Gaboo. You know what? I would say everything right now up to Durahan. Maybe Gali. Maybe Henger. This is where it's getting a little bit nebulous. This shit right here is all like, you want to win a tournament and your goal is only winning and you don't care about having fun. Like, you pick one of these monsters right now. Mocchi's up next. We didn't talk about Mocchi last time because I thought it would be a fun little joke to just immediately put him in bottom tier. And we are going to do that again. Mach is up next. No, I'm just kidding. So what makes Mocchi bad in this game? Slap sucks. Headbutt sucks. These basics are horrendous. And Mocchi is going to be spamming them. Thrust and 1-2 thrusts do not have the control game they used to. It was already a tenuous control game at best, and now it's really, really weak. You absolutely need to pick up press, maybe diving press too in this. Diving press sucks though. And if you're running the best Mocchi, which is white Mocchi, you need to get roll assault and pedal roll because he starts with flame. If you want to run intelligence Mocchi, you can run a white Mocchi.
Nice
Atomic
catch,
Weasel.
Blanco Nino.
Thank you for the follow, Atomic Weasel. Intelligence Mocchi needs to pick up licking, which is really bad.
Catch, Blanco Nino.
But it covers up headbutt.
40
and then Mocchi Ray, you need flame. And so you're hoping he doesn't use slap. If you're using intelligence build, you're hoping you do a shit ton of damage with an early flame, and then you use Mocchi Ray and licking to control the pace of the match. It's a lot of wishful thinking. And then the power build is kind of the same. 1-2 thrust. Don't do enough damage output. They can maybe run down the clock. Maybe run down the clock. It's like bad hopper though. If you want to do this with thrust and 1-2 thrust, just raise a hopper instead because it's the same build. Roll assault, pedal roll, both suck, but you'll probably pick them up to cover flame. I think Mocchi is really bad. It's unfortunate. Might want to say that again because of the sounds. What part? He's bad hopper. Thrust, slap, 1-2 thrusts are good for controlling the clock, but they don't do enough withering. They don't take long enough. Picking up roll assault and pedal roll are necessary because white Mocchi starts with flame, and both of these techs are really, really bad. And if you're doing a intelligence build, Mocchi Ray flame, and you need to pick up licking, which also sucks. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you got to cover up headbutt. There you go. Do the part where I put him at the bottom again? Okay. There you go. Next up, we got Mock. Mock isn't great in vanilla, and I think he's worse in this. I think if you've been watching the Battle League, especially, you have kind of a disproportionate view of Mock, I would say, because he was buffed so significantly in hard mode. Mock's really not good. Leaf Gatling is a bad tech. His basics are not good. Headbutt's fine. Like, this move's okay. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna run Power Mock? Maybe. You can't win on Headbutt alone. Leaf Cutter, really accurate. But, like, you need damage output somewhere, and he doesn't have high damage on anything that's not absurdly risky. Twister is very risky. Twister, very risky. Energy Steal, very risky. Twig Gatling and Twig Gun, not going to help him out that much because he does not have a fast enough guts rate to really wither consistently. Good against tanks. I don't know. I don't think Mock is very good. I think Mock is a low tier monster in this game. I don't think he's as bad as Mocchi, but I think he's down there. There's an 11 guts rate Mock. Okay. So he can beat bad tank builds. Think he's worse than Mocchi? We'll talk about it. Mock's pretty bad in this. I was hoping Mock would be good. Me too, but maybe I wasn't, actually, and I'm just saying that. Monol is up next. So, Monol's best version is still the Cocoon Soberos. There is a purebred Monol you can get that starts with Ray. That has 35... Or sorry, it has a 13 guts rate. But it doesn't really matter. His best is still the Soberos. Still cocooned. Hey, Ketchim, thank you. How are you doing? I think Monol is worse in this version of the game than he was originally. And here's my explanation. Monol, one of the worst guts rates in the game, right? Not great. Not very good. The Lizzie is now following. Thank you for the follow. Alright, ends up in top 10. I think he will. Monol struggled with being withered. He struggled with having a really bad guts rate. But the thing is, the guts rate actually kind of helped him. The 45 guts limit helped him because all of his best techs are incredibly expensive. Ray is probably his best cheap tech. Costs 35. Soundwave, good for 17. Like, this is a really good tech, but it's not going to win you games on its own. If you spam it a couple times in a row, you've given your opponent a guts lead. Same thing with Screech. Screech does a lot of withering, but it's a little bit expensive for only doing 16 force. So while Monol does appreciate not having to wait until it has 45 guts, the issue is it wants to kind of wait till it has 45 guts anyway. It wants to be able to use knock and 2 knocks at 45. Tentacles is also much weaker in this version of the game because the withering doesn't matter as much. Withering 41, what this used to do is you would use Tentacles, you would open the match, you would do a shit ton of Withering and a decent amount of damage, and then both you and your opponent would wait to build up to 45 guts again. Now, if you do it, the whole like waiting to build up to 45 guts is not really there anymore. And while that kind of worked on Dragon with slamming down, I think Tentacles doesn't do enough damage to make that as useful. Slamming down at least is in the 30s, costs a tiny bit more. But even though this does this much Withering, on a Monol, the Withering doesn't really matter. You never pick up the flattening line. Flattening L, flattening X are fantastic ways to lose the game. These moves suck. 7.8 seconds, only 5 Withering. I was running scrims versus a Monol with my Arrowhead, my tank Arrowhead, which is a bad build, by the way. And so he was hitting flattening X every time. And every time he used this, I came out of it with a guts advantage. So I was just hoping he was using flattening X. So Ray is really good. Nock is really good. I do think he gets power crept a little bit, but Monol is actually a very, very strong monster in the beginning game. I do think he doesn't change that much. I think he's stronger than Centaur. I don't know if he's stronger than Henger. I'm going to say he's stronger than Henger. I'm going to put him here. So right now, a lot of the high tier outside of these two guys right here, a lot of this hasn't changed a whole lot. It's not like completely sweeping for every monster, but it's pretty solid anyway. Like, I have a pretty good feeling about this, you know? Other day, you got a Galaxy Monol, 15 on every stat. Yeah, that's the one I was fighting. It's very good for, what's his name? Tangent's tournament. Fitting for Gali to be Monol, fitting for Gali and Monol to be side by side. Yeah, I agree. I do think he's, like, right here. I do think he gets power crept a little bit, but I think the things he excels at now are slightly different than they used to be. Naga. Every power tech on Naga is a top tier tech with the exception of drill attack, which is still fine, but a little bit risky. Turn assault is fantastic. Tail assault is really, really good for the cost. Pierce and stab are your main damage output. Naga, the best Nagas are absolutely bannable. 100% the best Nagas are bannable. Not a lot of monsters can really compete with that. It's absolutely up there. Lizzie just subscribed. Thank you. Now the pool bug is gone, it's easier to raise them. Yes, that's true. Anchor, how are you doing? Which are the best Nagas? Punisher, depending on the format. Ripper, depending on the format, and Time Noise. Those three. What's the pool bug? He's talking about the swim glitch, where a monster would gain defense and power gains inversely, defense and life gains inversely based on what they were supposed to be. We got my boy next. We got Niton. Let's go. Niton struggles, unfortunately. Niton is kind of a solid mid-tier in vanilla, but whip and stab being spammed really hurt him. Why does this have -1 hit? And whip sucks. This is such a long animation for what it does. Naga Tiger and Naga Plant are up there. They're both really good, yeah, but I don't think banning all of them is great. Excuse me. Originally, you would get like Violent Shell. Maybe you would get Million Whips. And then maybe you get Electric Stab. Electric Stab's not great in this game, but it's okay. It's a little bit risky. Maybe just go with Numbing Stab, even though this kind of sucks too. Maybe just accept that he's got a really crappy slot one and hope he doesn't stay in it. Violent Shell is still very good. This looks a little disproportionate. The 40 force -5 hit for 50, but this is really good. And on Niton's incredibly fast guts rate, the 35 withering is really strong as well. Niton's intelligence build, not too bad. Soundwave X is really good. Severe Shock is okay, but the thing is, you're going to be using these power techs more often. This is basically a bad Pixie build. If you get Severe Shock and Soundwave X, look at this. 35 cost for 19 force. Like, it's okay, but that's so expensive. Power build is definitely Niton's best, and I think he's like... I don't know if he's better than Ape. I want to say he's maybe here. He might be worse than Baku. What about Niton Ink? One of the worst moves in the game. Never get Niton Ink. It's clear in this game, too. Cryptic Leet is now following. Thank you. Naga is a strong player and regular at the top of the tournament. He even won the last 2997 tournament we held. Ujir knows what he's talking about. I'm telling you guys. You guys think... You think I'm coming up with random bullshit? Nah, this is based on empirical evidence. I know. I've watched the tournaments. I know what happens. He knows. Is my YouTube guide on raising competitive monsters still applicable in DX? Yeah, 100%. This is gospel. This is gospel. I'm never wrong. We got Phoenix up next. The fastest Phoenix is a blue Phoenix with a 9 gust rate, which is obscene. The fastest Phoenix in vanilla is a 14 guts rate. Or 15 guts rate? One or the other. So 9 is obscene. I think Power Phoenix is probably the best Phoenix, if I'm being honest. Beak and Rapid Beaks is probably enough to carry you through. But Fire Wave is really good. And Fire Twister, Fire Tornado, not so much. I would probably get Fire Wave and I would get Fire Twister. The fact he can't cover up his first 2 slots is really rough for the intelligence build. I think if you're going with a Phoenix, the initial thought would be go blue Phoenix, but you can't get grit. So in lower stat cap tournaments, that is a huge detriment. I don't know if in the higher ones, in max stat tournaments, grit doesn't matter at all, right? In max stats, grit barely matters because no one gets KOs, but I do think Beak and Rapid Beaks is the better build. Fire Wave and Fire Twister is more fun though, so, you know, pick your poison. I don't think you can get pure power Blue Phoenix. No, you can't because he starts with Flame Cannon. So that's why I think Blue Phoenix is a little bit worse. I think just getting a normal Phoenix with grit and going with the power build is probably your best option. It's very boring, but, you know, it's a very meat and potatoes monster. Phoenix, I think, is probably... Is it better than Henger? I'm going to put it here. I don't think it's better than Henger. Phoenix is a little bit less viable than it used to be, but I think it's pretty good. How do you get grit in DX? How will you be able to tell? You get it from the hair chips or by combining with a monster that has grit, so like a Mocchi from the market. You go to Daj and you talk to him and he says something like, it never gives up until the last moment, or something like that. Pixie is up next. Pixie is a monster that is very hard to talk about in this format because depending on the meta, depending on the stat cap, Pixie changes pretty drastically. In very, very low stat caps, Pixie has 1-hit kill potential with Flame and like crit Mega Ray. Pixie's great because these take no time at all. If you miss, not a big deal, and you can just mash it. And Bang and Lightning are great for finishing off stocks. I say stocks, but I mean, you kill your opponent. Once you get up to about 3,500, the matches last a little bit longer. You have to watch out for her power techs. And I don't know if Power Pixie is a better build than Intelligence Pixie. I want to say no. But her Intelligence build is pretty bad. I don't think Pixie is very good in this. Ponju, thank you for the follow. Ponju was the best player in the Switchport Battle League that took place on Macho Cheese's channel. He ended up getting 2nd place overall, but he got to the grand finals without losing a single game. And Lifeless is now following. Thank you, Lifeless. I think Pixie is better than these guys, but I think Pixie is down here. I still think Pixie is low tier. I don't think Pixie is very good at all. You can try the 6 guts rate with power. Which, there's the 6 guts rate Pixie. You know what? A 6 guts rate with power probably helps her out a little bit. I don't know if it's enough, though. Is the 6 guts rate Pixie with power the one that has the crossover text, like Phantom Claw and 1-2 Punch? Because Phantom Claw is not bad. I think Monster's ranking is very good, even from a Japanese point of view. Good reference for training. The only difference is lifespan. Other factors make it easy to raise. Well, yeah, that's true. Macho's ranking. My ranking? Did he mean me? Did he say Macho on accident? Also, I'm done this. So, we're going to talk about the last couple of monsters, and then I'm going to go get another drink, and we're probably going to do some casual ranching after this. Plant is up next. Plant is pretty cool in this. I do think Power Plant is better. Lifesteal, this is the best special tech, or the best drain tech in the game. It's great. Toxic Nectar is way better than Toxic Pollen in this version of the game. Toxic Nectar is good for running down the clock. And then Seed Gun and Seed Gatling. Seed Gatling, not so much. Seed Gun, this has such a quick animation on hit, man. You can spam the shit out of this. It's got about a 40% chance to crit if you got a bad-natured plant. So intelligence plant has a place. Jab obviously sucks, and slap sucks as well. If you've been playing hard mode, you may think slap is okay because it can wither, but slap doesn't actually do any withering in vanilla. It's really, really rough. I'm talking about this as if it's good just because it's like significantly better than it was. But Plant's big boon with this build was the ability to lock its opponent out of attacking, and that doesn't really happen anymore. You can't really lock your opponent out of attacking at all. So you go with the power build, root attack. The only saving grace of this tech is that it takes less than 3 seconds, because this is pitiful hit. It does less damage than slap. You already know how little damage plant slap does, but root attack is up there as well. Root combo, this is actually not terrible. Like, this isn't a lot of damage. It takes a little bit of time to make it happen, but plus 21 hit is fantastic. Jab combo this is a heavy tech. All nice guys look the same to you? Oh, Kujira. Well, I'm glad that it's kind of falling into like what they think as well in Japan. My man Root out here doing 90 damage at max power. Hell yeah, let's make it happen. Root's good because you can run down the clock with it now. Everything Plant has in slot 2 sucks. Like, there's not really a good play here. Maybe you get jab combo just because it runs down the clock, and missing an 18 guts tech is really not a big deal. But Plant has face drill, and face drill is the reason you're using power Plant. 35 guts for this may seem a little bit expensive at first, but Plant has such a good guts rate. This is going to carry you through. I do think Plant is very similar to Hopper, except it has a little bit more utility. I do think it's really neat that Plant can actually run a timer scam build in this. The thing is, if it falls behind early, it's really, really hard for it to catch up. So that's the real issue here. With Hopper, that's not so much the case because you can always run one of the big nukes like Hopper combo or 3 jump lows. I do think Plant is much, much better in this game than it is in vanilla. It's just not good with its intelligence build. It's good with its power build instead. Starts with Bolt. Well, Pixie stays where it is. It's planning to try the 7 guts rate pure with max defense since it lacks grit. On Plant? That's interesting. Yeah, because there's the Plant that has the 7 guts rate. I want to say Plant is here. I don't think Plant is very bad anymore. One of the craziest things about Plant is that you can run Toxic Nectar on a power build, because Toxic Nectar does so little damage. If you just want to be like a huge asshole, you can do that. Bombo 2.0 isn't happening. I mean, maybe. I think its power build is better. I do think it's better than a lot of these monsters here. I don't actually know if Plant is better than all of these. We'll take a look at it again. I'm just preliminarily placing it there. We're not going to talk about Soberos because we're already talking about Monol as the best. Suezo. Suezo is great in this game. Bombo PTSD. Oh my god. I got Bombo PTSD too. I-Beam's a great opener. Telekinesis sees a little bit more use now than it used to. Because using 23 guts used to lock you out of being able to attack again right away. But Telekinesis is pretty good, especially if it gets used twice in a row. Telepathy, still a fine tech. Spit is great. Kiss covers up Tail Assault very nicely. Kiss is not a fantastic move. It's not going to win you games on its own. But this high withering does help out against tanks. I don't know. It's just, you don't want Tail Assault, you know? Maybe you go for Kiss. Power build, Tongue Slap, Chewing, and maybe Bite, even though Bite is pretty severely outclassed by Chewing in almost every sense of the word, just so you can cover up Spit. Would you get Teleport? I probably would. It does less damage than Tail Assault does. It's pretty accurate, but it's not great. I think Suezo's a very strong monster in this game. I want to say Suezo's maybe better. Suezo's probably here. I have a lot of monsters in high tier. Better to take a look. Better change some stuff around.
Papa John's.
Tiger. Talking about Tiger, we gotta talk about the best Tiger. The best Tiger is Kamui, a Tiger with a 6 guts rate. Power Tiger is substantially stronger than Intelligence Tiger, and Stab is the reason why. Kamui is a fucking threat. It is absolutely bannable. The best tigers otherwise are still very strong, but Kamui just pushes it to another level. Tiger's up here. Tiger might even be here, if I'm being honest. It's hard to say, but I'm going to put it behind Naga right now. Roll Assault and Charge aren't great. Roll Assault's really good at finishing off monsters with fast, like really fast monsters, but it's not great otherwise. Only has 10 force. Costs a lot for that. Charge always sucks. This move's always bad. 1-2 covering up Scratch is a pretty good option against anti-tanks, or against tanks as an anti-tank option. Stab just works against everyone. Stab fucking blows everyone up. His intelligence build, you gotta pick up Bolt and Lightning because it covers up his basics. Ice Bomb and Blizzard are okay, but I mean, his power build is so phenomenally powerful. Hi, Mac Cheese. We were talking about that because Macho Cheese is like the hoe in Macho Cheese got censored, so it said Mac !! Cheese. That's pretty funny. Undine's up next. A couple of really good monsters in a row. Arrow is really, really strong. You need to pick up Splash to cover up Ice Sword, so Splash is a necessary pickup. It withers 40. This move doesn't do any damage, and it's kind of inaccurate, but this shit is really, really good. Ice Arrow, I don't know. Maybe you just get Arrow. Ice Arrow and Icicle Arrow are both fine. Like, this is really good for the cost. But Water Gun and Water Cannon are the play. This is what makes Undine busted. Aqua Wave and Aqua Waves are good as well. Ice Coffin's got some use, but like Water Gun and Water Cannon are so powerful, especially in this format. They just destroy tanks, and they're so accurate that they do really well against fast monsters as well. They work against every breed. It's really, really hard to fight Undine. Undine is absolutely one of the best monsters in the game. I want to see Undine is there. Undine's better than Golem in this game. IMO. Has more moves than you remember it having. It has a lot of techs. A lot of them are really bad. Worm's up next. My boy Worm. Fan favorite Worm. What are we going to talk about? It's got really crappy basics. Somersault, really good. Get Somersault. Always get Somersaults. This move's really solid. Everything in slot 3 is kind of awful, but Pinch Throw suplexes a guy. So, you know.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible with the details.
So, he suplexes a guy. It's up there. Wheel attack is okay. It's a little bit expensive for what it does. Pretty good opener, though. Basically the same thing as slamming down. A little bit less accurate, but it's not as risky as it used to be. Tusk Slash, Pierce, pretty bad. Tail Lash, 2 lashes, 3 lashes, all kind of not worth it. Tail Lash is very, very accurate, though. If you want to cover up Sting, which is kind of bad, Tail Lash might be the play. But Somersaults, like, this is where you're going to be doing all your damage in Somersaults. This move only costs 30. Does so much damage and has such a high hit rate for only 30. That's just nuts. But Worm, in general, kind of struggles. I want to say Worm is maybe here. I don't think Worm is great in this game. I just think it's got really, really good slot 1 techs, and that's enough to help you out a lot of the time. What do we got next? Wracky. Wracky starts off with 1 intelligence tech, 1 power tech, so it can technically run both a power and intelligence build. Weapon not being able to be covered up by intelligence techs is really, really rough. Weapon throw, one of the best techs in PvP. Weapon throw is amazing. Very, very cheap. Does a decent amount of damage. You can spam that shit. So because it's good in PvP, because it's spammable, it's also pretty good in DX because you don't need to wait for 45 guts. But other than that, you got Blast Shot and Air Shot. Not really Air Shot even. It's mostly just Blast Shot and Weapon Throw. That's your build with Wracky. He doesn't have anything else that's very good on the intelligence side. But on the power side, you can pick up Spin Slash to cover up Weapon Throw. Spin Slash isn't great, but it's fine, and at least that way he doesn't have an intelligence tech open. But the kick line is phenomenal. Twister Kick, we were talking all this shit about how good Tiger's stab is, and this move has the same force, and it has plus 15 hit. Let's take a look at stab again. This costs 45. Look at this, 34 force. 0 hit, 17 withering, 25 sharpness. Not as critical hit based, but does a decent amount of withering. The 15 hit and the 35 force twister kick is broken. Twister kick is broken. So blast shot is really, really good because it only costs 28 guts and it's got 22 hit and it animates pretty quickly for a really high impact tech. But twister kick's on a whole other level. I think Power Wracky is one of the best builds in the game. I think avoiding a lot of this other stuff, Wracky combo, I don't think is very good. Weapon combo, you know, I don't think a weapon combo is very good either, but if you just want to get Vortex here to cover up weapon because weapon's really ass, maybe you do that. I think Wracky is here. I think Wracky is incredibly difficult to beat in this game. He might not be that good. He might be like down here, but we'll move it. We'll move it around. Zilla's up next. We only got 2 monsters left, and then we'll have a little bit of a discussion, and we'll move stuff around. Tail Lashes, pretty solid move. A little bit expensive for what it does, but it's got great hits. And then other than that, Charge is really your only other play. Roll Assault loses games. Earthquake's pretty expensive and very, very inaccurate. It's like a total gamble tech. 30 cost. 29 cost may not seem like a lot, but on a Zilla, it's a lot. Like, it's rough. Body Press does a ton of damage. Doesn't actually do that much self-damage if it misses, but 40 guts is a little bit prohibitive. Knocking Up, I don't mind. I think this move is pretty good. 20 force and only +1 hit for only 19 guts and a decent amount of sharpness. I think Knocking Up is really good. Honestly, if I was going to run Zilla, I would probably run Charge. I would run Tail Lashes. I would run Knocking Up. It's a pretty inconsequential build, unfortunately. Oh my god, we got to the song again. Okay, let me find... Capcom sound team. We're gonna play some Street Fighter 5. Yeah, I'll play Street Fighter 5 soundtrack. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna... This is the One Must Fall soundtrack. That shit's great. There we go. What am I at on my levels? A little bit high, I think. We'll go there. Zilla, I think, struggles in this. I don't think it benefits from the removal of the 45 guts rate as a lot of the other slow guts rate monsters do. I think it's a little bit of an issue. Here, I'm going to turn down even a little bit more. I don't know. I think he's having a hard time. I think Zilla is still like... I still want to say he's here. Zilla's having a rough time, you know. I love Zilla. I wish Zilla was better than he is, but he's not. And Zuum, the optimal Zuum build. My boy nails. You get Claw. You get Million Claws. Maybe Claw combo. Tail Lashes is up there. Tail combo, Tail Lash are all pretty good. We talked about this last time. Tail combo is just objectively better than Tail Lash. Tail combo costs less. It does more damage and it has higher chance to hit. So Tail combo is absolutely better. But if you want to get Tail Lashes, you got to get Tail Lash first. And this move's pretty solid. And then you get Charge. And you get Fire Charge. You ignore the Sharp Text in the middle here. Aerial Claw, Diving Claw, Jumping Claw. And you ignore Roll Assault and Burning Roll because they're both fucking terrible. That's really the best Zuum build. I think Zuum is really strong. I want to say he's probably up here. This is probably where Zuum sits. Think Zilla's better than Ghost? I don't know about that. But what do you guys think? I'm gonna go get another drink, so I'll let you guys stew over that for about a minute, and then I'll come back. Alright, I only got the one sandbagger because I didn't know how it was going to taste, but now I got my boy Schofferhofer. This is my favorite drink in the world. The Radler, it's really light. It's only like 3% or something. Great. Don't think you know enough about the game to make a judgment. At that point, it's splitting hairs. It's just not used. That's kind of what I agree with. So what does that Monol sit below low tier? This is not usable. Here, what if I did this? What if I did this? There you go. I don't gotta worry about it. Monol's already in there. Cocoon Sobros is already up here. I think Joker is better than Hare. Gaboo is worse than Kato. Zilla is better than Ghost, and Mocchi is worse than Mocchi. This Monol right here, this is already Sobros. How do subbreeds factor into placements? They're completely... The placements are completely based on the best subbreed. Nice ranking. Gujira, somebody ask him what he would change. What are his opinions? I do think these top 3 are guaranteed placement. I feel pretty strongly about this. I don't think this guy's up here. I think he's close, but I don't think he's up there. I think if you think Tiger is strong, you have to agree that Wracky is incredibly powerful as well. Is the Gali there cocooned? Yes. The Monster Hunter Discord, we were talking about the worst mon, so this might be an interesting addition. Pixie maybe mid-tier? I don't think... No, I think Pixie's really bad. Monol's what you use to write down tournament scores on, and how to paint your monster disc emblem onto show support. Wow. Monol's great. What the fuck are you talking about? Get out of here, Monol haters. Monol's fantastic. What's the best Gali build? Gali is... Oops. Probably Power Gali. Intelligence Gali is pretty good, but I think Power Gali, back blow, heavy blow, and spirit blow, and giant blow. A lot of blowing with him. He likes to blow. That's probably it. You guys should experiment, though. I need to see some random bullshit builds so I can update this later. I need you guys to run like stuff that I would never think of running, so maybe it's right, you know? Will I put this on YouTube for your channel to watch later? I will, don't worry. To me, I think if a subbreed is banned, then it shouldn't factor into the ranking. What's the point of comparing Kamui and Punisher to shit like Astro and Undine when the former will never see play in tournament? Because they're still fucking good. The difference between like an 8 guts rate tiger and a 6 guts rate tiger is not really that big of a deal. It's not like, you know, Tiger's actually down here, but the one of them's up here. Like, no, like, Tiger is still in the running here. I still think Tiger's, like, maybe there. It's just... I understand what you're saying, Bob, but, like, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. If Tiger had, like, 1 6 guts rate and then, like, a bunch of, like, 15 guts rates and the 15 guts rates suck, like, that's the thing I already thought about when I was putting the tier list together. I'm like, does this make sense? And I don't think it would make sense if that was the case, but there's nothing like that, really. Tiger is incredibly powerful. Naga is incredibly powerful. They're both, like, here. Well, Tiger's probably here. But I think Tiger is incredible in this version of the game. What was the rundown in ColorPandora? You got Kamikaze spam. Kamikaze beats tanks. Kamikaze beats fast monsters. It's great in every situation. Giant Whip is incredibly cheap, spammable damage against tanks and almost instantly kills fast monsters. The removal of the limit really helps him, as well as the Unity buff. Unity buff really helps him too. It helps him beat monsters like Plant and Hopper pretty well. Why Mock over Mocchi? Bro, to be honest, this is so fucking arbitrary down here. Like, all these monsters suck. I'll do it just to appease you. There you go. What up, dudes? Radis, how are you doing? Honestly believe Jell should be higher. Jell's a really strong monster. Everything here is a really strong monster. I think, you know what? I don't think Centaur might be down here. I don't know. It's hard to say. And even Zuum might be up here. It's really funny seeing like high tier and then mid tiers. Like there's less mid tiers than there is high tiers, you know, or in this case it's even, but that's just, it is what it is. Still think Zuum, Kato are better than Gaboo. I think Gaboo is really good in this version of the game. Mustard Arrow or Logsar, yeah. What kind of stat distribution would you do for an Undine within a 3,500 stat cap? I mean, you could probably run a tank Undine if you wanted to, but you just go speed. Everybody takes speed. Intelligence Jell makes you sad. It's so risky. You got to hit the one hit. If you don't hit the one hit, then you struggle. It's actually really funny because the Japanese meta, when the ports first came out, Intelligence Jell was one of the most common monsters, and then after a couple of months, people were like, I fucking hate missing Jell Copter and instantly losing, so I'm gonna run power. I was Tiger not the special breed? Yeah, we were talking about that. These two monsters do get their own, because they're in here somewhere. If they're not. Tiger's really, really good in this. Miss the dragon breakdown? Why are they that high? All the bad things about dragon are no longer a factor. Running down the clock with wing combo is pretty good now. Being able to spam stuff after landing a slamming down is really strong. Trample is just as good as it always was. Why is Metalner always banned? Metalner is always banned because it's by far the strongest monster in the game. It's... If we were having tournaments for money, and you didn't pick a Metalner, you're an idiot. Like, it's as simple as that. If there was a tournament for money, and it was like, you gotta try your best, there's $1,000 on the line, and you didn't pick Metalner, you basically, like, fell dick first onto, like, a fence post. And, like, of your own doing. He's so strong. He's got really good withering on all of his techs. He has an insane guts rate. His 2 techs that he uses are... he has a really basic tech loadout. But you basically get back charge and straight, and both of these techs are insane. This only costs 18 guts. It takes Metalner 3 seconds to build up the guts for this. And you know how long it takes other monsters to build 15 guts? If he hits the maximum wither on straight, as 10% or plus 10% chance to hit, only 2-second animation, and then back charge. This is just like wonky. It doesn't make sense for tech to be this good. It costs 29 guts. You take a look at what is it, Death Cutter on Joker? It's just a numerically worse version of this exact same tech, and that's a pretty good tech. He does everything better than everyone else. He has no losing matchups. He has no even matchups. He has a winning matchup versus every monster in the game by a very wide margin. Like, there could probably be a tier between Metalner and these two, but these two are incredibly powerful. Google recommended me an article the other day that claimed Metalner was bottom tier. I saw that. Yeah, we were joking about that. It's just a guy who played the game once and has never played the game before. He's probably looking at just base stats. There's Undine's down there too, and Undine is super easy to play casually as well. What is the guts rate for the Cocoon one? For Cocooned Witch? Thanks for explaining, no problem. Damn, Metalner's base stats suck? Garbage. You have to try? He starts off with 50 power, or whatever it is? I don't like it. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. Let me take a look in a little bit more detail, and we'll see if there's stuff we can change around. Kato, I don't think Kato is up here. I think he's very close, but I think what these monsters have and what Kato has is different. We were talking about it before. The bannable stuff is bannable. Top tier is, these are monsters without real losing matchups against anyone lower than them. They're always going to do well in a tournament as long as, you know, RNG is at least 50-50 in their favor. Or I guess in their favor is a wrong way to say that, but at least 50-50, you know, they get some good stuff. Will I be at the 3,500 tournament? Yes, I will, Kujira. I'll have a monster there. I don't know what I'm raising yet, though. But yeah, these monsters are always good picks. They're always meta picks. These monsters are also very powerful, but maybe like they lose to these monsters, but then also, you know, maybe depending on the format, they struggle. They've got some flaws. Like Dragon Still has the flaw of having the worst guts rate, right? He's, well, I guess technically Phoenix does in this. Phoenix and Arrowhead. But if they had like 11 guts rates or whatever, they'd absolutely be top tier. But this is where you start seeing flaws. Gelcopter is really risky. It can win you the game instantly, but you can also just as easily lose. Mew doesn't have particularly high damage output, and because of the kind of slow guts rate that Mew has, the battles go very long, which is not really conducive to winning with a slow guts rate monster. But all the techs are great. Like, Mew is fantastic, but that's its downside. Durahan, again, kind of the same thing. Its high damage is extremely risky. Gali is just very expensive in general. Same thing with Monol. Henger's best build is very risk averse. He kind of has the same issue as these two. Suezo, very strong monster, but just can't really compare with like the damage output and consistency of some of these others. Phoenix falls into the same category as Mew and Durahan. Centaur, I think, as well. And then Gaboo has basics that are like kind of an issue to deal with. The AI can really fuck up Gaboo really badly. And Tiger's kind of, and Zoom's kind of the same way. Japan is going to be serious? Oh, we're not being serious, though. That's the thing. We're not taking it as seriously as Japan is. Macho was telling me about some of the monsters, and I was thinking of raising a Mocchi or a power plant or something like that instead of a Ripper. But maybe I'll just YOLO a Ripper build. I don't know. We'll see. And then these monsters down here, I think, are monsters that have potential to win, but have a fatal flaw in some way. Kato's really bad guts rate isn't offset by what these monsters up here have. Beaclon is kind of the same as like Mew and Durahan, except less so. Hopper and Plant do no damage for the most part. Jell has an extremely risky build. Ape doesn't get many chances to attack. Baku's got a pretty risky build. Worm needs somersaults to land to give him a lead, and then hope he can finish them off. Niton is fucked up by spamming stuff in slot 1. Bajarl doesn't have anything particularly noteworthy. Ducken is fucked up by spamming stuff in slot 1. The 6 guts rate Ghost is okay, but like Withering is not a strategy that beats many monsters in this version of the game. And Zilla, again, same thing as like Ape and Kato. Kind of a slow guts rate and not really a good... There's like no trump card in these monsters' kits. They all have stuff that's okay, but there's no trump card. And then these are just monsters that are more struggle than not. Mock has almost nothing good. Mocchi struggles because the limit of the 45 guts really fucks up how badly he can play a control game. And then Pixie, I mean, Pixie's got all the same issues she always did. After Tierlist, will we be able to roll Moose Meadows again? No. Just for you specifically? That's a good point. Macho makes a good point. But yeah, I think... Oops. Oops. Okay, we didn't delete it. I think that's what I want to do. I think that's what I'm looking at as far as like my first preliminary tier list for this goes. This is going to change. We're going to see stuff change over time, but I think as far as like my understanding of the game right now, this is the most people that have ever been playing the game, right? So it's going to be a lot of info, and we're going to see a lot of stuff, and my opinion might change on a couple of monsters, but right now, I think this is pretty set. I think I'm pretty comfortable with this currently. After the massacre yesterday, everyone's houses and monsters have been lost. Yeah, I just deleted the whole thing. Gotta start from square one. Really look forward to seeing how things change. Me too. I think it'd be a lot of fun.